Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today we are going to talk about, can the government intercept WhatsApp messages or whatever media you share on WhatsApp? So we'll try to discuss this. For my video updates and queries, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook because I feel together we can make a huge difference. So now this is huge, flat 70% off. This is the biggest sale of StudyIQ, that is our big Diwali sale, and it is valid till 30th October 2019 for all the pen drive and Android courses on our channel, be it UPSC, SSC, any state PSC course, UPSC optionals, or you can see the list here. You can take the screenshot and decide later. For additional information, you can call on our numbers or you can visit our website also. So hurry up guys. So let's talk about the relevance of this topic. It will be covered in your mains paper 3 and even in your internal security and governance topics. And at objective level, you should know about over-the-top services. What is it? End-to-end encryption. At subjective level, you should know what is state surveillance and about social media. So now, in what context today we are studying this? The TRAI. So firstly, tell me, this is very common. What is the full form of TRAI? They are studying the possibility of bringing platforms, online platforms such as WhatsApp, that is a messaging app, under the ambit of lawful interception. So what is interception? That suppose you are sending a message, A is sending a message to B, so it can be interrupted or stopped in between, and there's a third party which is able to read what you are sending. So that is interception. So government is trying, the authorities are trying to bring WhatsApp under the ambit of what is called as lawful interception. So now the question is, after all, what is lawful interception? Now see, lawful interception of online communication. So what online communications mostly we have these days, like WhatsApp, Skype, Signal or Telegram. So there is long debate from a long time. So it has ranged governments and regulators across the world. So it's not just a matter of India, but this debate is across the world against the technology companies and privacy activists. Now see, the authorities want such platforms to provide access to messages, calls and their logs to law enforcement agencies to aid them with investigations. And India too has made demands for traceability of communications from instant messaging platforms. So now the question is, why is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India looking at lawful interception of online messaging apps? So first reason is issue of OTTs. OTTs means your over-the-top service providers. So now the telecom sector watchdog has been carrying out consultations to build a regulatory framework for OTTs. OTTs, again, over the top service providers. So who are OTTs? So these OTTs are basically the platforms that use the infrastructure of traditional telecom companies like the internet to offer their services. Because see, if there is Airtel, there is BSNL, there is Jio, there is Reliance, they are the basic telecom service providers. They are providing the calling systems. But now what WhatsApp is doing, they are using the internet and using internet for the calling and messaging, right? So TRAI has been looking at the regulation of OTTs since 2015. So it's not a new debate. The debate across the world is since 2015, when mobile companies first raised concerns over services such as WhatsApp and Skype causing loss of revenue. Because obviously there is a competition between a telecom service provider and WhatsApp is giving free call. So what will you prefer? You will prefer a free call over a priced call. So there is loss of revenue. So these companies are raising concerns over services such as WhatsApp and Skype causing loss of revenues by offering free messaging and calling services. Now another thing is regulatory regime. So this is the other argument made at the time, was that these services do not fall under licensing regime prescribed by the Indian Telegraph Act 1885 and operated in a regulatory dark spot. So you see, there is for telecom operation companies, they have to get a license to register themselves, but these OTTs, they do not fall under Indian Telegraph Act and they are operating in a dark spot. So there are concerns about the lack of level playing field. So if you talk about level playing field, there is none between the telecom companies and OTT service providers, including the economic aspect also. And with the boom of data consumption in the country over the last 2-3 years, as we have seen, the regulator began looking at the security facet of the regulatory imbalance between the two kind of players. While telecom players are subjected to lawful interception as per the telegraph law, OTT platforms, as they are not licensed, are not subject to interception by law enforcement agencies. Now, how will the regulator proceed with the proposal now? Now, TRAI will submit its views to Department of Telecommunication, which will decide on the next course of action. So, now we have to wait what DOT will decide. Because currently, the regulator is studying global practices also, like what practices are adopted in other countries, what are the laws in other countries as far as lawful interception on online platform is concerned. So they are looking into whether other regulators and authorities have been provided any facilities for interception of communications, and then they could also suggest that the platform should provide the same facilities to the Indian government also. Now we'll talk about certain laws, like under which laws are telecom firms currently subject to lawful interception. I already mentioned it is the Indian Telegraph Act 1885, which states that on the occurrence of any public emergency or in the interest of public safety, the central government, so further there are two things, the central government or state government, it could be state government also, can take temporary possession as long as the public emergency exists or in the interest of public safety requires the taking of such action, and of any telegram established, maintained or worked by any person licensed under the Act. So whosoever is licensed under the Act, they are liable under this Act, but OTTs are not. So this mandates telecom companies to provide access to messages, calls, logs of these in case a court order or a warrant is issued. However, the government is not relying on the Telegraph Act to meet the objective. It wants the platforms to come up with a solution to enable the traceability. So, are these messages sent and received on these platforms not traceable? So, as per WhatsApp privacy policy. And okay, before that, apps such as WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, etc., they claim to provide end-to-end encryption. You might have seen when you use WhatsApp that if A is sending messages to B, there is no third-party involvement. This has caused some uncertainty among the authorities and how they can seek access to such messages. Now let's move to the case of WhatsApp. If you have seen, they have a FAQ page on its website, where WhatsApp states certain things. Firstly, they say we will search for, so I'm saying on behalf of WhatsApp, they say we will search for and disclose information that is specified with particularity in an appropriate form of legal process. So they mention a legal process, that if there is a legal process, they will disclose the information and which they are reasonably able to locate and retrieve. Then they say they do not retain any data for law enforcement purpose unless they receive a valid preservation request. So they do not retrieve any data until they have a valid request from the government agencies before a user has deleted that content from their service. They also say that in the ordinary course, WhatsApp does not store messages once they are delivered, because in many cases you have seen the undelivered messages also, but they are deleted from their servers after 30 days. So as per WhatsApp privacy policy, they may collect, use, preserve and share user information if it is reasonably, here the word is reasonably necessary to keep users safe. Detect, investigate and prevent. So what are the reasons? To detect, investigate, prevent illegal activity, respond as a response to legal process or to government request. So they offer end-to-end encryption for the services. End-to-end encryption means that messages are encrypted to protect against WhatsApp and third parties from reading them. So what is the situation in other countries? So this is very recent that the United States Department of Justice has made fresh arguments for access to encrypted communications. So New York Times reported what Attorney General William P. Barr has said. He has written to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, pointing out that companies should not deliberately design their systems to preclude any form of access to content, even for preventing or investigating the most serious crimes. So currently, there is no jurisdiction anywhere in which messaging apps have been known to provide access to their messages. Pressure on such services to provide access for law enforcement purpose has been rising everywhere. Like now, I gave you an example of US and India. Law and IT has repeatedly stressed the need to be able to trace messages to prevent serious crimes. The Indian government has conceded that encrypted messages may not be accessible. It has asked the platforms to provide the origin of messages that could possibly incite violence or other mischievous acts. So here, surveillance state. Here I'm just introducing this term. What is a surveillance state? So this is a state which is defined as a state which legally surveils all actions, locations and friends of its citizens in order to prevent crime. So the reason they gave is to prevent crimes, or in order to solve them, first to investigate the crimes, right? So this is all about today's lecture. Thank you.